As I spend more and more time making YouTube videos, I started to develop a sense of how my videos were going to do before I posted them. And what I've noticed about myself is that I started to develop a minimum view expectation. And every time that one of my videos pops off, that expectation increases, but it never seems to decrease. So when I have a video that doesn't meet that expectation, imposter syndrome sets in. I feel like my channel is dying. And in this video, I sat down with some friends to talk about this issue and how we all deal with that dreaded imposter syndrome. So I invited Jimmy Champagne, who runs a bunch of channels like PS Ready, Deck Ready, and his horror channel, which is simply named Jimmy Champagne, where he talks about horror films. I also invited my friend Rich, who runs video game channels Fan the Deck and Fan the Games, and I've linked all of their channels in the description down below that like button. We talked about imposter syndrome, the best time to launch a video, and whether or not YouTube is lying to you about that, some things you should try and avoid when publishing your video, and when it's in your best interest to get a video out as fast as possible. It was a really fun discussion, and I think you're going to like it a lot. But first, this conversation was recorded using Riverside. Riverside is a virtual studio that makes recording and editing at the highest quality possible accessible to anyone. I've been making podcasts and YouTube videos for years, and Riverside is by far the easiest way to do this. You simply send a link to your guest, click record, and Riverside takes care of the rest. They use AI to develop show notes for you, find shareable moments in your show so you can post that on vertical videos, and they do it all at incredibly high quality. Plus, editing is a breeze because they turn your conversation into text. So if you want to cut something out, it's simple. Click, drag, delete. So if you want to use Riverside to make YouTube and podcasting a breeze, check out the link down below. I just want to talk really quick about like the lows and highs of how your videos do, because I think a lot of people run into this issue where they post a video and it does really well, and like you are then super excited about like, yes, I've figured out how YouTube works, and then you're kind of fueled by this hype level, and you go and you start making your next video. And, you've done everything. If you feel like you're doing everything, you're firing on all cylinders, everything that you love your thumbnail, your title's awesome, and you post it, and then it just tanks. And maybe you try to, change the title and thumbnail, but nothing works and it just fails. And you feel like, okay, imposter syndrome sets in. What do you do? How do you talk to yourself about that, like in your head, when that kind of thing happens, Jimmy?
That's the worst. It hurts a lot more on my horror channel, like especially when it comes to Halloween, where I have like a minimum view expectation just based on like I upload this many videos. Even if they start in the middle around 5 or 6, they'll end up with like 20,000 views, and I can live with that. But then just out of nowhere, sometimes you get one like what you were just talking about, where YouTube just says, you know what, I'm not feeding this one out, and then it ends up at 10,000. Then you just like your heart's racing. You're like, oh no, is my channel dead? And like, then you just make another video and then you instantly forget about it. But that was the hardest thing, like learning to just move on. Once I learned that and I just make another video, it makes you feel a lot better about it. PS Ready was kind of like the antidote, where I have to make 3 videos a week. So, if one bombs, yeah, it sucks, but that's more fuel in my body to make sure that the next one is like really good. And then most of the time it works out, right? Like very rarely you'll get in a rut where it's just like 10k 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 and you're like, what the fuck is going on? But then it sorts itself out, which is almost worse, because then again you come back to this point where it's like I worried myself really over nothing because I couldn't do anything about it. It was just YouTube wasn't working right, and you can't fix YouTube, right? You can't walk into Google and just hit the server with the hammer. So you just got to always trick yourself into mentally getting to that point.
That's a really good point, because we think of the algorithm constantly. We think of it as like static, but it's changing. Like it changes all the time. And so it's possible that when the algorithm changes, your views, are affected by that, impacted by that one way or the other, and you eventually regress to the mean. But that's definitely a factor. And then I didn't even think about it like that. So that's a good point.
Yeah, you always think about these strategies, strategies that people are talking about, like do this, in order to succeed. And yeah, a lot of times it's really good advice, but sometimes that advice can be dated, and things that people that helped people grow, especially earlier, won't help people grow now,
right?
Because everything's changed.
Yeah, because there was a time when, you could just make a game review channel and it would take off. But now the word review is like poison to your video. So you can't do that. It's always changing. And right now I've noticed that just by talking to people who also have channels and stuff, like YouTube's really favoring videos that where the CTR initially comes from your returning audience versus new viewers. Like if you get a video that's like 20% CTR from people who'd regularly watch your channel, you have better odds right now for some reason of that video breaking out. Whereas in the past, you were going for the complete opposite, where it was great when people would show up, get you that baseline first few thousand views, but what you really wanted was it to hit with newer viewers, because YouTube's saying, oh, people want to see this, I want to feed it to more people. And but it changes all the time. Like, it's weird, because like that was happening for a few months and now it seems like it's back to normal.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I didn't know about that. I'm just trying to think about, like, when I've looked at analytics, can you see a different CTR based on new versus returning, or is
you have to do the math yourself? You can you can look at impressions, like overall impressions, and then views from returning viewers and views from new viewers, and then do the math yourself to say like how many new viewers clicked on the video out of this many impressions that the video has. And it's going to be like off because the impressions are a little delayed, but it's in the ballpark enough where you can figure it out. Because you get that far where it's like the purple is returning and the blue is new viewers.
That's interesting. The video that I was talking about before, where it had a good CTR but is not doing well, it's 50% not subscribed, where usually I think it's a little bit higher on subscribed than that.
I would guess that. For your channel.
I need to double check. Yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, it makes it easier when you make more than one video a week, right? Like, making one video a week, you're like, all right, this one's got to hit. Like, you're putting so much, like, so much weight in one video. So that's another reason why I like doing two, if I can, on Deck Ready and my horror channel. But yeah.
So even with PS Ready, Jimmy, you said, is it Tuesday? No. Yeah. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday?
Yeah.
And so you said you stuck to that the whole time. I've tried to stick to a schedule, but my schedule is once a week, right? Like if I do any more, that's a bonus. And that's just a function of like, I have a day job, stuff like that. So I don't know when I'm necessarily going to get to it. But if ideally, right, like, is it better to have a specific day and time that's your publishing time?
I don't think so much specific day and time, because I've tried launching, you know how you can, if you're in the studio tab, I forget which little tab it's under, but you can see that purple bar graph that's like it flares up in the time frame that your audience is active.
Yeah.
On my horror channel, I always launch into that like 100% of the time, and I have noticed that if I launch outside of that, the video will do shitty. Sorry if this is like a not swearing podcast. I've dropped 4 F-bombs, but like,
it's you know what, we'll survive.
Okay. I've done videos where it launches really rough, and then as soon as it gets into that little purple zone in the middle of the day, it's like it like ignites. So on that channel, that's how I always launch into the active time. But on PS Ready, the reason I stick to that schedule is just because I like having a buffer in between videos. Like, I don't like doing back-to-back uploads because that can sometimes kill the video from the day before. So like, say I did a video on a Tuesday that was doing just fine. It was at like 2 or 3 of 10, and then the GTA trailer drops, and I do a quick video like, holy shit, the GTA trailer's out, and then that video bombs. Not only did that video bomb, but it also stole impressions from the video from a day before that probably would have continued doing as well as it was doing. I definitely had that happen. So that's a big reason why I stick to the every other day type of schedule, more so than saying I post on Tuesdays, I got to keep posting on Tuesdays.
Yep.
Yeah, the graph that he's talking about is under the audience tab, and it says when your viewers are on YouTube. So I always try and stick to that as well. And the thing about that, though, it says it right on this. YouTube says this, and Rich and I always have this joke going back and forth that we think YouTube are just freaking liars about this. It says publish time is not known to directly affect the long-term performance of the video. I still don't like publishing outside of those purple times, even though YouTube has told me over and over and over, it's fine. Go ahead, do it.
Well, I don't know. I think like there's so many people working at Google on YouTube that like different teams probably believe different things, and I feel like a lot of people have like too much input on what gets put in the studio page, where, you know, for one team, the telemetry they're collecting, that might be true, but for my Halloween channel, where I have a pretty dedicated audience, I think that's like that's just a bold-faced lie from them, because hey, I've seen it happen, right? Where I launched 2 hours too early, and then when that time frame comes up, you can literally see the like little tornado line go like skyrocket up. And also, I don't know, it just makes sense. Like, you know, it's kind of like lying to yourself if you just believe what's written there. I don't know.
Rich and I have had this conversation a million times where we're like, okay, there's some big news, but it's happened at a certain time. I can get my video done and I can post it right now. But do I wait until tomorrow because it's after 6 o'clock at night and everybody who my audience is not watching YouTube anymore? And sometimes I just say, screw it and send it. And sometimes I wait off and I still can't decide what's the better option. What do you think, Rich?
Like you said, I'm a fan of waiting till the next day. If it's past 5 o'clock Eastern, I'm gonna wait till the next day.
You're gonna kick back and play some video games.
That's it.
Don't disrupt your life for it.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like, you know, when we were talking about CTRs and changing thumbnails and stuff like that too, like sometimes I get into a zone where like I just have to protect my mental health, right? Like sometimes I'm into it, like let's change the thumbnail, let's see if we can get it better. But there are other times where it's like I need to publish the video and then forget about it, because otherwise I'm just going to be thinking about this all day. I'm trying to turn a 9 into a 5 into a 1, and it's taking a toll on me.
And I don't have to care about that because it's someone else's job, right? Like that's Matt's only responsibility is to launch videos and run the system, you know, like that's for my sake, like my mental health, like thank God that's his job, because I would be doing what he's doing and I would never stop working, which would suck.
Yeah.
But there are times, right, where I got off a plane after a state of play and they announced the PlayStation Portal, and I had to go film a video in the LAX bathroom because like I knew that was like that's a video where it's worth the gamble to throw up like a quick 5-minute video, because it's like PS Ready, hardware-based channel. That's hardware. I'm going to talk about hardware. And with Halloween, when the trailer dropped, when the trailer for Halloween Ends dropped, I literally walked into the AMC Century City in LA, sat down for a screening of Nope, and then some guy posted the Halloween Ends trailer on Twitter. And I got up and I ran out of that theater because I knew all the press screenings were at the same time. So that's amazing. The other Halloween coverers were watching Nope. So I was like, I drove home like 90 miles an hour on like the normal road. I ran in, I made a video super quick, and I dominated like everyone. That was awesome. That can only happen like once in a blue moon, but that was so worth it. Like that was a time where it was definitely worth the grind and the risk.
Yeah. It is hard to get that out of your head though, to think I need to react as fast as I possibly can to get that early stuff. That's a difficult mindset,
because everyone tells you that's what you should do.
Yeah.
Because that's what worked for them 10 years ago when they started their channel. I don't know why now they haven't realized that that's not helping, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, go ahead, Rich.
No, I was gonna say I just like the it's about the balance, right? So like sometimes it's a punch card. That's how I like looking at it. Sometimes is that like sometimes you do get those opportunities and you think of it as like a punch card, but it's not. It's not. You have to like figure out which ones are worth that trouble because it is a lot of work and it is a toll on mental health too. Just going back to that point. So sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not, and you just try to take the bets where you can.
But what if you want to make a video that doesn't quite fit with your current audience? It might be time to make a second channel. And before you do, you should watch this video right here.